felt lonely? For many people, this is something that's really difficult to admit. But do you know that 1 out of every 2 people experiences loneliness? Just the other day, I was at a dinner with an amazing group of women, and we were laughing and sharing stories when one of them asked me, "What are you working on these days?" And I told her that I'm researching the social influences of mental health, specifically social connections. And so she said, "Tell me more." I asked this group of women the same question that I just asked you. Have you ever felt lonely? Now let me explain. This was a group of educated, upper middle class women who were very well connected. Do you know that every single one of them admitted to experiencing loneliness? That's 8 out of 8 women, many of whom are married, with children, surrounded by family and friends, and they still experience loneliness. In fact, according to the Surgeon General, we're experiencing a loneliness epidemic, which is leading to our current mental health crisis. And when you are not connected to people, you have both physical as well as mental health challenges. So some of the physical conditions include heart disease, dementia, and Alzheimer's. You have a greater risk for anxiety and depression. You actually die earlier when you don't have connections in your life. And sadly, women are impacted more than men. Because for women, we're twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression, and we're also twice as likely to have challenges accessing healthcare. And for girls, 1 out of every 4 girls admits that they have seriously contemplated suicide. For me, loneliness started when I was a child. I was a latchkey kid, and I remember letting myself in, after school alone, and I would sometimes make dinner for myself, and I had the opportunity to make some important life decisions on my own. Now, having said that, my mom was a strong working woman. She was a nurse, and she worked very long hours to provide for us. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for the role model that she was for me. For many years, I've worked in the mental health space, and I provide formal mental health services to people who are struggling with their mental health. Sadly, I've come to realize that many of our formal treatment services in Western medicine does not meet the needs of everybody. There are people from other cultures that want to have their needs met in more natural, holistic type ways. And so we need to look at our systems to create opportunities for everybody to get the support that they need, because some people want to have their needs met, in ways that address their gender or ways that address their ages or their stages in life. Because I talk to people about their mental health all the time, I've come to this realization that loneliness is a universal truth. So I conducted interviews. I'm a researcher, so I conducted interviews and focus group and stakeholder interviews and literature reviews, and they all point in the same direction. They all talk about the social influences of mental health. The social influences of mental health are social connections and social support, social capital, managing our social media, and social inclusion. And I found that people really want to address their mental health needs in more natural ways that speak to some of their talents and their interests. And so when you have social connections in your life, it's actually considered a protective factor. And what a protective factor means is that when or if something bad happens, these social connections will buffer you from the negative consequences. And so we need to have social connections in our life. The trouble is that many of the young people in our world today, they don't have these social connections, and actually they don't know how to make these social connections. Because as a society, we've really gotten away from connections. We have the smartphone, and people move away from their families. We also are not as involved in community-based organizations like faith-based community. So we really need to help the young people in our world learn how to build connections and garner support and manage their social media. So this led me to create a program called Project Connect for helping professionals that work with youth, as well as Be Socially Connected, a program that's designed for youth who are struggling with loneliness and isolation. It teaches us how to use the social influences of mental health and why it's important to do so. But more importantly, it teaches us how. Because many of our young people don't know how to make these connections and build these protective factors. Women and girls that participate in the program report that they have better mental health. They report that they want to empower other women and girls to use some of the techniques and the tools. And they report that they're happier and they're better off because of the activities that they've learned and how they can share them with other people. We're really teaching girls how to lift each other up and how to fix each other's crowns. I'm really proud to say that I'm giving the world what I needed when I was growing up. You know, I am a doctor of public health and a licensed mental health counselor. I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm a mother of 3, and I'm speaking at the United Nations about how important it is for us to address our mental health through our everyday interactions and how we can begin to support one another to do the same. I share my research with educational systems, with behavioral health professionals, with college students, and with anybody who will practically listen. But most importantly, I want to make sure that young people have the tools that they need in order to support one another. I continue to conduct research to build the practice and learn more about what will support young people today. I invite you to learn more about the social influences of mental health and how it can increase your level of happiness, as well as the people around you, your family, your friends, your loved ones. So do me a favor, pick up your phones, and I want you to think of one person that might need a little support today. And just send them a quick text that simply says, I'm thinking about you and I would love to connect. And see what happens next. Because collectively we can change the narrative on mental health.